Welcome to Black Beat Podcast, where we take an unapologetically Black approach to profiling people and stories that are significant to the connectivity and advancement of our community. I'm John Washington. I'm the CEO and editor-in-chief of Flossin Media and your host for each Black Beat Podcast. Today, we are honored to welcome Marquise Johnson-Bey to the show. Johnson-Bey was born and raised in Portland and is a renowned artist and photographer who got his start capturing basketball games with legendary Harlem Globetrotter Les Pee Wee Harrison. You know, and I know this brother, man. Metal Arc Lemon, and in addition to the artistic pursuits, Marquise also currently holds the position of Deputy Chief of the Morris Science Temple here in Portland. It's sure an honor to have you on the show today, Marquise. Welcome, my brother. Welcome.
Islam, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. It's always good to have a brother like you on the show, man. You know, because we need to get some things straight sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Marquise. I mean, you know, bring. Who's this guy? I got this live type guy I got sitting in front of me right now.
Well, as of today, you know, I'm just an artist that just likes to just stay creative and help my people out any way that I can. How I've been doing that lately is just through my art. You know, I've been kind of help pushing the nationality narrative for our people, and I like to use my art to do that. Other than that, you know, I'm locally grown here in Portland. I was in the U.S. Navy for about 4 years, between 97 and 2001. And then after that, the creative bug just kicked in, and we started a publishing company with a friend of mine. Well, I call him my brother, Samuel Irvin. We started Abstract Visionz in 2001. And we used to publish poetry chapbooks and do art poetry shows and things of that nature. And then he passed away, and I believe it was like between 05 and 07. And then I kind of just took a hiatus, kind of just messed me up a little bit.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, I got into photography after that, like around 2010. I started doing photography and hanging around these two guys. They had a studio downtown Northwest 2nd called Bonga Media. I was with Jim Kemper and Michael Washington.
Yeah.
I used to like just go in there and just watch them just, you know, do their magic. And at that time, I was just doing poetry and events. And, you know, the photography bug kicked in, you know, when I was hanging out with them. And I've been doing photography like ever since. And then I ran into Les and the Globetrotters and, you know, got even more involved in photography with them. So it's been a nice journey.
Yeah,
Definitely a nice journey.
But tell me more, man, about this piece you're doing about this nationality piece, man. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay. Well, for me, how it all started, and I have to include like my journey of how it makes sense.
Yeah, with the audience.
So what I was doing, I was taking some photo classes down in San Francisco at the San Francisco Art Institute, the little monastery school they have in North Beach. And when I got there, I started shooting these images, what I was calling Nubian guards at the time.
Wow.
And, you know, I would recreate images of these Nubian guards in ancient times. And, you know, I'm not thinking much of it. I'm just like, you know, this is a cool thing. This will be my thesis. And I'm gonna rock out. Lo and behold, I took these images to my professor at the time, and he looked at the images and he looked at my inspiration, and my inspiration for the images was a painter by the name of Ludwig Deutsch. And Ludwig Deutsch, what I had come to find out was that he went around the world, and he's an Austrian painter, went around the world and he painted Moors of old times. So he painted them in their own environments, whether it was in Austria, Hungary, the Americas, or in Europe or Africa. And the ones that I found, that I came across, were here in America. So I showed my professor, and he was like, you know, you sure these are Nubian guards? And I was like, yeah, you know. He was like, well, research the painter and then come back to me, because the painters in those times, and this was like the painting that I had found was like late 1700s, early 1800s. And he was like, they used to hire painters or commission painters to paint Moors or Aboriginals at that time before they would decimate the people.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I don't want to, get my inspiration from somebody that was a part of that. You know what I'm saying? So I researched Ludwig Deutsch, and I kept finding other painters like Rudolf Ernest and some other ones. And those were called Orientalist painters at the time.
Right.
They still are today. And he wasn't into that sort of thing. Like, he was just painting the Moors and, learning about Islam and Orientalism, and kind of like just that was his documentary for himself. So during my research, I was like, well, I need more information. And he was like, these are old Moors of Spain and so forth. But I was like, these are in America. And my professor was like, well, keep researching. So I keep researching. And, when you run into Moors, you're also going to run into the Jews of Spain.
Wow.
So I was like, well, there's old Jewish communities in America. So where's the old Moorish communities?
Wow.
And so
come on with it now. Tell us a little bit about it. Come on.
So I'm doing all this research, and I had took a trip. I was in the San Francisco area, so I'm digging around Oakland looking for other Moors. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to kind of find them at the time. And this was like around 2014, 2014, 15, 13, around that time. So I'm looking for these communities, and I went to around Oakland. I went to Baltimore and DC, went up to Seattle, went to a couple more spots back east. And when I went to Baltimore, that's when it really, really hit. Wow. And I ran into the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine and National Movement, Inc. number 13, the Moorish American National Republic. And then I was just given all of this information, and then it just started to snowball. And then I found out there was a Moorish School of Law and History. So the Moorish School of Law and History has been in operation since the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And this Moorish School of Law and History was actually set up to replace the Freedmen's Bureau to educate the current slaves or ex-slaves, right? So I went out to Baltimore. I talked to the Grand Sheik and other members out there, got a bunch of information. Then my research took me back to Portland, because I found some Moors here in Portland. And all this time, I was going from Frisco to Portland, Frisco, and to Baltimore.
Yeah.
So I left San Francisco. Actually, before I left San Francisco, I was given a book by the title of Exhuming a Nation by Noble Drew Ali. And this book is like 400 pages. And as I'm in school, I'm spending more time reading this book than my actual classes, because this pertains to me and my photography project.
Yeah.
So there was days where I was at school and I wouldn't go to class. I would go eat, come back to my dorm room, and I would just read for like, it was about 3 to 4 months straight. It was just a different fire got set inside of me for this photography project. At times I forgot I had a photography project because I was doing so much research.
Yeah.
And, I actually became what I was searching for, because that's who I was.
Wow.
And I had learned through my research and other, just, you pick, when you run into more science, you run into other metaphysical knowledge.
Yes, sir. Read about.
There's a saying that anything that is part of your evolution, it also has to be part of your involution. So the fact that Negro, Black, African American was a part of my evolution, and I discovered more science in my involution than on my evolution, on the other end was more science. So that's always been a part of who I was from the get-go. So that's one thing that we don't deal with in society is we never talk about the involution part of our evolution. And that was one of the most important parts that I
So,
discovered.
so your definition of involution is the learning, the knowledge of the internal self,
Exactly.
the awareness of the internal self. Yeah, and you know, bro, we've been on that platform and mission. We'd be amazed at a lot of the interviews. Somewhere along those lines, is that somewhere in there is that conversation, and it's not. It doesn't necessarily sound as eloquent and as organized as you make it sound, but
Mhm.
it would seem to allude to that internal messaging, that conversation, that internal conversation, man,
Mhm.
and how important it is. You know, but now that we own this topic, man, share with me a little bit about your perception about race relations in this country today. What's your perception a little bit about it? And then we'll come back to a little bit about, you know, the storyline around the photography and all that. But I'm just fascinated, man, and how you would keep, you know, utilize your knowledge of the self today in relationship to what's going on in the world today.
Okay. Um, well, I'll have to say that one, um, my perception of what's going on in today's society
Yeah.
is very,
About
very
race
different.
relations.
Yeah, it's very, very different from your average person, I would have to say. One is that I'm aware that when we deal with names and titles, that's a part of nature. So your name also defines the nature of what's going on or however you choose to use it, right? So I know that if a person decides to call themselves a doctor, they will manifest things that will help them become a doctor. They will manifest the knowledge, the conversations, the tools, and so forth, and then they will progress to become a doctor because that name, the nature of that name, will manifest.
Right.
Now, if that person wants to be a basketball player, they'll manifest basketball games, the dress code, the language, and then they'll manifest that career. Now, when we use the titles Negro, Black, Colored, African American, I know that those are slave titles given to us by our ex slave masters. Now, the nature of those titles have to manifest in this society because words have power and they manifest. So when I use the title Negro, Black, Colored, African American,
Right.
those being slave titles, then slave issues and occurrences are going to manifest undeniably. Now,
Right.
when we use a free national name, i.e., a nationality that's tied to law, people, and land, then those things will manifest for that individual, right? So when you use a national name, that has credence with liberty, has credence with law, has credence with justice, and having social freedoms, right? So those names will empower that individual in society. Now, when it comes to our people and how they're being subjected and oppressed on the street, we have to time out and pause and say, okay, like what's wrong? Well, one, we're using the wrong names and titles that are allowing these things to manifest.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then
your
two,
internal locus of control
right.
versus your external locus of control. Yeah.
Mhm. And
Yes,
then
you
two,
are what you create,
exactly.
what you
Exactly.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then two, we're out of tune with the law, right? Now, we grew up, I mean, I didn't grow up, but a lot of our people grew up in civil rights era and Jim Crow. And, we never put two and two together of like, why is this happening to our people? And then, why do we seem like we're out of tune with the law? Well, we're out of tune with the law because we're not using the right ancestral names in law because the titles Negro, Black, and Color have nothing to do with anything constitutional in this country.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
wow.
That's outside of the Constitution. Whereas when you have a free national name like Moorish American or we'll say like a Japanese American or a Hindustani American, those names are tied to a constitutional body in law. They come together in law and they deal with lawful things. Our people don't deal with lawful things as a nation.
Collective body. You're correct.
Right.
Wow. Well, man, that's some deep insight onto that part of that, man, because I'm right with you on that one. You know, I mean, this whole, you know, notion about an upright back can't be ridden. You know, this whole idea is if you stand for something, then obviously you're gonna manifest something.
Right.
And if you continue to allow yourself to be subjected to a subordinate reality, then you're gonna probably manifest subordinate name. You're gonna be in a subordinate position when it manifests, right?
Right. You know, and our people have to be more self-accountable in this situation. You know, it sounds odd and it sounds
No,
bad.
man, it don't sound odd. You and I have something in common, and you know, with that, maybe it was just that natural Moorish nature inside of me. You know, because no, I'm a firm believer in that, man. You know, we continue to advocate and have a persona that brings in subordinate or how would you say the victim? You know, that whole
Right.
victim posture, man, that says that we are subjected to whatever because we are nothing. You know, and I'm not buying all of that because just as you said, there is an internal conversation that we have with ourselves. And if it's in you, it's going to yell out to you every
Yeah.
once in a while and say, boy, identify yourself.
You got to hear that voice, you know? And
Yeah.
another thing is that a lot of the woes that our people are going through, all of this stuff is written in law, what they can and can't do under the Negro Black title. You know, like I just discovered a book called The Legal Status of the Negro. Um, and come to find out, you know, a lot of the states, they base the status of a Negro, one, he's not a naturalized citizen under the Hebrew code, and then two, on education. So a lot of the Negro status laws are based on Negro education, which is, you know, sad to say, but it's like public education.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's
Yeah.
not being educated by your ancestor or your cultural peers, right? And then also, you know, when you're in when you go through the Moore School of Law and History, we're also given a book called The Negro Beast. And come to find out, that book Negro Beast was passed around our not amongst our people, but around our people, uh, declaring them the status of a beast because they were never declared and never took care of their national business to become naturalized citizens of the government which they helped build.
Wow. Well, you know, and Marquise, you do have your hands on the trigger, man. So tell me on some of this knowledge and information, man, since you know your field of endeavor of media and photography and those types of things, man. What's been some trials and tribulations you've experienced in your life, man, and working through getting to and arriving to this place through your career?
Um, I have to I have to say I've had more fun in this Moorish paradigm because I've learned how to kind of live above the shoulders.
Yeah.
And then two, um, a lot of those what I guess, you know, what kind of prepared me for this was, gosh, you know, when I look back, I look at, you know, my grandparents, and I look at key things that they used to do,
Yeah.
and then I see the cultural connection.
You know,
You know,
that's fascinating, boy, because I was just on that journey. I ain't got off it yet.
you know,
I
because
just
they used
got
to do
back from
things around
Georgia,
the
boy.
house.
You know, yeah, I've been on that journey. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to do things around the house and the way that they talk about certain things. And then the more I dig into this Moorish history, you know, I'm like, okay, that's why they used to do that, and that's why they used to do this, you know, because there's one thing. There's a book called "We're All Moors" by Anwar Majid, and in that book it says, you know, during the Inquisition, um, the Portuguese and the Europeans used to make us keep our doors open
Wow.
so that we couldn't close the doors and worship our own God or practice our own spirituality and stuff like that. And it's small things like that where I look back when I was growing up, you know, we used to always keep the doors open back in the day. You know, summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't
No.
close that
Yeah,
door,
man.
keep the doors open. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Go to anybody's house. Your grandmama, all of them, you go right in the back door. You know, it's
always a door was always open.
always open.
And when I read that, it kind of connected the dots of why we would always do that. But just, you know, just paying attention to my elders, you know, hearing, listening to things they would say and how they would act, and then I look at the cultural connection between, you know, our people today and the Moors of the past, and it all just ties together. You know, it's like if you don't see it, then you don't want to see it. Then you know.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, that's a true statement, bro. If you don't see it, you don't want to see it.
yeah,
You on to something there.
and another small thing that I ran into, and it has to do with because your last name is Washington,
Oh
right?
man, I was about to say that to you. I said, truly, if you want to talk about a master's name, I was plagued with it.
The,
Yeah,
the funny,
but
the
that was the
funny
curse
thing
of the
is that
beast. That on me, John Washington. I said, damn boy, what y'all wanted me to run for office or something with these
but
folks? What?
the funny thing about that is that the Washington name comes from the Washita Empire.
Washita Empire. You right about that?
And there's not too many Europeans with the name Washington, except for we know George Washington.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I ran into some more information on him where he was actually half Washita, and that's why he got the name Washington.
There you go. See
Which
that, and it's it. But man, it's kind of like once you get to a certain level of man, there was like you said, there was some key spiritual truths that we don't understand how to turn the key to some of this spiritual notion. We practice on things, but we don't never get the key.
yeah,
It's like how people pray constantly, right? And they pray and they go, well, my prayers don't get answered. Well, maybe because you don't understand that there has to be an emotional appeal to go along with that prayer,
yeah,
as a key,
yeah,
for it to be, and these were the little things, like there was so much omitted from us. We got a chunk of the knowledge, but the keys was always taken out of it.
yeah,
You
exactly.
and so, but hey, man, but so tell me, so you got your joy, right, from finding your internal spiritual self,
Mhm.
and you arrived to it. So now you're in the arts, and so bring us, man. Just so how you conveying that message through your art now?
Um,
How's all that working?
so when I was in Frisco, I turned that so-called Nubian project into a Moorish photo series project.
Wow.
So what I've been doing since like 2014 is I've been going around photographing Moors around the country whenever I can,
Wow, man.
whether they're locally or if I'm in Detroit or Baltimore or whatever, or down in Cali. And what I'm creating is a Moorish coffee table book. So I'm pretty much done with it. The research is done. I just have a few more photos to take, and it's like these canvases on my wall.
Yeah, I was looking at them.
Yeah, so those are a part of the. I'll just grab this one real quick. So like this is part of the Moorish photo series, and
Wow.
so I also do canvas work for that series. So whenever I photograph some Moors, I make sure that that person gets a canvas, and that way, I'm able to keep a copy and document it for the book as well. So it's a similar process to the basketball project that I just completed. Um,
So
yeah.
what was the Morris take on athleticism?
Oh wow. So the Moors used to use basketball as a they have it as like a game of a challenge where it's like like how can I put this in a simpler term? Well, we have this thing called a gauge, right? So a gauge is not only something that you can measure with, but it's also a symbol of like exchange or like triumphant exchange or something like that, right? So
Right.
gauge will be a symbol of my victory if I win, right?
Okay.
Um, so it would be things like that as far as like just ceremonial games culturally. Um, the Moorish and the basketball thing goes back to the Aztec days down in South America, or what they call with the Olmecs and what
Right.
have you. So it varies. It varies. It
Okay.
definitely varies.
Okay. So today, as you evolve in your endeavors, when you're working with young people today in your projects and some of the projects that you have now in tow, I mean, what is your what do you what's the gift of giving and exchanging in that, and what's the motivation How are you? Tell us a little bit about the mechanics of that experience for you,
Like
with you, and then.
what's my exchange about that?
Yeah, yeah. What's that? What in you, with all the knowledge that you have, and while working with young people about a skill set and in art, um, what is it that you're hoping to convey to these students and these people, or in your encounter?
Well, with the basketball project, that deals with the title of the project is called "Where Did You Learn? A Meditation on the Element of Play Culture."
Huh.
So with that specific project, my goal is to with the gems there or the jewels that are in there is to show people that you're not just playing a game. Like in the book, we talk about playing contests, talk about playing war, we talk about playing litigation, we talk about playing poetry. So when a person is playing, it's not just, yeah, you're having fun, but there's always more at play, whether it's the unknown, whether it's the unknown, the seen or the seen or the unseen, the heard or the unheard. There's always something at play. It might have to deal with your destiny. It might have to deal with your fate. It might have to deal with something legal. But when we deal with play, it's a cultural thing also, that it's a character builder.
Yeah,
It's an interlude to your
yeah,
day to let you recharge.
yeah.
It's all these different factors that happen, and I just want the younger kids to know, like, although you're having fun, here's some reasons why, or you can add this or think about this when you're playing or when you're learning to play. Um, and it also
Oh,
allows the
man.
person to kind of manifest and teach themselves some new things, to new dynamics when they play as well. So it's just something I just thought they should have. I mean, there's like character builders in there as well that I.
No, no. Marcus, I think you're right on point, bro. And I would have never been able to validate that with you if I didn't have that pathway that I had to come through myself. you
Mhm.
know, as a former athlete myself, one didn't know and understand the motivation for it at that time, but it was definitely the vehicle.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, for escaping of poverty, but not just escaping poverty, man, but evolving in character.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it exposed me to myself. I don't know who it was that said that, Obama or somebody that said that situations don't make the man, situations show what the man is really all about,
Mhm.
you know? And for me, that was really seeing behind the veneer, being able to challenge myself to feats and heights that, was amongst the 10% of this country, first opened the door. But and a lot of times I didn't necessarily like what the door when it opened up, what I saw, you know,
Right.
because most of it was pointing. The vehicle was mostly pointing at that external trap. It was
Right.
about money, cars or whatever that was. And so, but it wasn't necessarily the interpretation. It unconsciously it gave me the value of self.
Yeah.
And once I had that, it was now a level of maturity with that came ensued, and rather it was the Moors, rather it was through the Masonic order, whatever that was, the whole idea of that was about capturing the self and having that essence of understanding the source of dignity,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that true nature that Paul Robeson and everybody else talked about before us was, I simply just wanted to experience what it felt like to be a man. you know, you
Yeah.
know,
Right on.
and he had to go to foreign soil to be able to experience that experience. And but to know that you captured and you have in tow something that you could offer the next generation, because along this sense of empowerment or this sense of taking back this wrongdoing or however, it has to be replaced with a sense of a value of some kind, and
Yeah.
that internal value that you seem to hold in tow about the Moors today, which has been something long in coming. I mean, it's always been in our side view, but nothing seems to want to, several brothers like yourself, bring it into our front view and
Yeah.
challenge us.
And one of the reasons why I think I go so hard on the issue, especially within the arts, is because, when a people is conquered, man, the first thing
Oh,
you take is the arts.
talk to me, boy. Talk
They
to
take
me.
the arts.
Woo, talk to me. Let me know. Let them hear what you had to say. When a
Yeah,
people are conquered, they take away your
art,
cherished values, such as your art, the
your
thing
art,
that reinforces who you are.
yeah, they take
To
away,
your external, but it still tells the story, right?
they take away your arts, your literature, and the architecture. And one thing, like today, I've been finding ton, a ton of old architecture here in the Americas that is just mind blowing. And these buildings were knocked down in the late 1800s,
Mm,
and they used to call them star forts. So places like the nation's capital, almost every state had a setup like that, and it was called a star fort. um, with the columns, the regal fountains, and all of it was knocked down for what? I don't, who knows the reason. And a lot of these buildings used to host our technology and engineering as well. And before they knocked them down, there was one place. It's called the New York Palace. They used to have this place called the New York Palace in the 1800s, and that would showcase art, literature, and the latest engineering. And just like they did in San Francisco, they burnt it down.
right,
So
right.
it's just they
You
take.
know, bro, that's going to be something we're going to need to circle back with you in the community today about, looking at these art projects, man, because some of the larger projects, community development projects, and those building projects that we've had, one of the big hardest things that we were up against is that most people don't realize that the architectural aspect of a building and community is like a beacon. It
Right.
attracts the people to that community in which they really want to be attracted there.
And
And so,
you get it. You feed off that energetically,
right,
especially when you see the beauty of it. Um, there's an old. I was reading this book. I can't think of the name of it, but it says if you are given the more distorted images you are given, the more you will produce distorted images.
wow,
You know what I mean? So it's almost like a optical medicine is how I like to look at what I'm doing. Also, when it comes to the photography, it's almost like an optical medicine. It's like we need to see ourselves in a beautiful national sense, to kind of help kind of trigger that genealogical memory, that DNA memory.
yeah.
Um, so it's things like that that I hook onto, and I won't let it go because it's like, okay, we need this. I need this first of all, and then if anybody else is like me, they're gonna need it as well. So it's like, and it's something good to leave behind. I think.
My Morris brother, I would strongly encourage you to look at some of these opportunities that are going on now with these uh, structural developments and all that stuff in the neighborhoods and stuff, because that voice is missing. The voice you bring to this equation is a missing equation in this, and it's one. Believe it or not, though, it's being searched after. I mean, because you couldn't find too many black journeymen who know how to place a crown on the top of a building that represents the black culture.
Right.
That's a very, very difficult thing to have. And like you, I've studied architecture, especially in San Francisco, man. And you look at the crowns of those buildings, you can walk down one block and you very rarely will find the same crown in any one of those houses or buildings that you walk down.
You know
So
what's funny about those crowns?
what's that, bro?
So what I've been finding out is that a lot of those crowns on all these buildings were like conductors. And
Let's talk
so
about it.
there was a lot of so a lot of cities had these ornate crowns and jewels on the buildings.
Exactly.
Like they were like energy conductors. It was almost like the cities or the nation that had all this stuff around the nation was like a circuit board. And so a lot of these things allowed for heat, um, wireless electricity, things of that nature was already popping. Like, it's what's going on today is nothing new when you look at the
Oh,
history.
no, it ain't. So talk about this part of this, man. So how we've been in this pandemic, and you know, Black Lives Matter and all that, man. How's the pandemic? How's your career and your work and stuff been during the time of the pandemic, man?
Uh, Man, when the pandemic hit, you know, I feel like although, there was some intimidating factors in there, um, but it was kind of my game to just sit at home. And I was like, I can sit at home and just read. It might sound crazy to some, but I was like, I can
No,
sit
no,
and
no.
just read. I was like, I can get projects done. I can read, da 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 da. So I kind of just locked in and just knocked out things that I needed to get done and things that I was procrastinating on. And this is things, everything just kind of manifested. So the pandemic wasn't bad to me, and I think that's because, one, I don't have a TV, and then two, I think the literature kind of keeps me in a good headspace. um so although things was going on, I was hopping on my bike, doing bike rides, going out into the trails, and
Yeah,
I was just in a different headspace. i,
yeah, man.
I couldn't let.
In a good one, it sounds like to me, because I
Yeah,
mirrored you. Well, I'm surprised we ain't bumping into each other out there, you know.
yeah,
But between fishing and all that, man, I said last year when it hit, I said I'm gonna go buy me a boat. Because I asked this one question of a bunch of brothers. So how many people got beachfront property? And
yeah,
but less than 0.5% say, yeah, well, I know somebody, they got something on some.
right,
And I laughed. I said, well, they found this place through the river, and
yeah.
then most likely when it's time to leave here, everybody gonna try to do it on the freeway. You know. But I
Yeah.
told them I'm gonna be on
Another
the river.
thing
I
was
don't know about y'all.
I was hopping on my raft and rowing up and down the river, and I was just doing a lot of outdoor stuff. And because so I was kind of already doing that, so it was like my life didn't really change too much besides visiting certain people, and I wasn't able to go to pals as often as I like to, or certain coffee shops and stuff like that. But it's like you let nature take its course, and now things are kind of opening up slowly, and uh, you
Did
know
you take many? Did you get any support, any kind of fiscal support from any of the things for the business? This time,
yep.
did that
I
get a
ran,
hit?
yep. I ran into some help with the what is it called,
A CARES Act,
the Oregon Cares Act, that helped me with the publishing of my book, which I needed so
right
bad.
on, right on. I'm
Yeah,
so glad to hear that, man.
and
I'm yeah,
I'm so grateful that that came into my life and I met the right people that
yeah,
would happen.
yeah.
Because publishing a coffee table book is very expensive.
Well, we publishers around it, so we get it. We understand. It ain't no joke. Most of the people think it's a joke. So, Marquise, tell the people out in the field right now, man. How can they support you and get you some help? How do they get a hold of you, man? Get in contact with you, and tell us about something that we might have missed here. Before you say that, tell us about something we might have missed here in this conversation. You like
Okay.
our viewers and our listeners.
Also, so what I started during the pandemic is that the idea came to me to start my own platform, kind of like YouTube, and it's called abstractvisions.live. So on this platform, you can upload video. We also have a live streaming broadcast situation, and then we also have Zoom connected to the site as well. So you have Zoom capabilities, live broadcasting capabilities, and video upload capabilities, all on one platform.
Right.
Uh, and the one thing about it is that although it's like YouTube, but we get to curate the platform and not allow so much garbage and visual and musical poison into this platform.
Wow.
So it's for positive uploads. It's family friendly. It's aimed at our people. I mean, it's open to all nations, but it's aimed at our people because we need a place where we can dialogue and kind of tutor ourselves a little bit, things of that nature, without outside interruptions. That's very much needed. Um, I like to think of it as an online kind of healing zone for us. And hopefully one day that'll manifest into a brick and mortar healing zone for us as well. Um, so that site is up, it's live, it's been up for about 8 months, going on 9 months now.
Tell us the site address again.
It's www.abstractvisions.live. So
www.abstractvision.live.
yep. So that's Abstract Visions, ABSTRACTVISIONZ .live.
Got you. And
So
man, because I would have been remiss to miss that one, because that platform sounds like that's going to be something exciting, man.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
you
so
want people to
we
just
have
go to it and drop some stuff on it, or do you get a
yeah,
hold of you? How does that all work?
yeah. You can just go to the site and help build it up. It's just like YouTube. Upload videos, create tutorials, educational programs. You can do a podcast on there. We have enough space on our server to host podcasts. We can host films. We've been hosting Spanish classes on there like every week now, which has been nice. And then we're actually getting ready to plug a store to the site. So
Well,
we're
right on.
also
Yeah.
having a vendor situation on there as well.
Wow, man. Bruh, this has been a real eye opener, Marquise. I am so honored to have you on the show today.
Oh,
I
thank
really am. So, what's Technology Association of Oregon? Tell me a little bit about that.
Say that again.
The Technology Association of Oregon, is that something that you involved in also?
I had a meeting with someone from that organization. I believe his name is Skip, and he gave me some yeah he
Okay.
gave me some good direction as far as like the site, site maintenance, people to talk to as far as helping the site get going and help it build it up. I still have some more meetings to get under my belt to get some more help for the
Right.
site. But it's definitely a relationship that I definitely want to get tied into in the future. Um, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
My brother, I think you're on to something. Name of the book. Where can we get it when you get that
Oh,
coffee table book?
so that's what I'm doing. So I'm building the website to plug into Abstract Visions Live. So you're going to be able to get the book. So this is the book. This is the coffee table book.
Oh, wow.
126 pages, beautiful image.
Wow.
And then also I created this this beautiful journal. You'll be able to get this as well. So this journal is you'll be able to get this on the website.
Wow.
In the side, when you open it up, it says "Know Thyself," and this is
Wow.
your artists, your writers, things of that nature.
Wow. I like that. I really do like that. And
And
I
then
think the coffee table book is going to be pretty exciting too. Sounds like a spendy endeavor there on that one, huh?
for the journals or the coffee table book.
The coffee table book. It's a
Yeah,
nice large book and
yeah,
pretty.
yeah. It was a pretty penny, man, to get this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But nothing good today. Like I said, everything good today is gonna be what it is.
Mhm.
Because if it's good, you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah,
And that's the nature of the investment in anything. Man, I don't ever invest in nothing that I can't get some life out of. And most of the time, if I can get some life out of it, it's gonna cost me some money. Shit that you don't get no life out of, it don't cost you that, but so that's
and,
all
we'll
the
and we'll
way.
have and we'll have canvases. So when you look through the book, you'll see the images of the different pictures, and I have art canvases to match, just in case people want to buy the art canvases. And then also I started a incense line called the Fragrance of Nobles. So this is a really nice thing that they'll be on the website. And then also uh, a line of backpacks.
Man, that's where that backpack came from, man. My partner came in to see me. Man, you can send a few of them over to the office. You hear what I say? If you got a few of them, send them over. We got you on them.
I'll come by. I'll definitely come
You
by.
got a couple of them in the inventory. Send them over there. We got you. Yeah. But listen, Marquise, this has been a really great story, man. I am really, we might have got a little bit off track, but man, some of these things that you got your hands on, man, I'm really actually, impressed, man, to a greater degree, because I think you've gotten your hands on a way of doing things that bring us back to our community, our foundation.
Mhm.
And most importantly, man, being able to walk away with something that leaves you intact and with some dignity and some sense of self-respect, man. And so I applaud you and respect you for that, and thank you for being part of our show where we take pride in improving people's perceptions of capability, significance, and influence in their lives and in the lives of their family and their community. So, my brother, I do really respect and appreciate you coming on the show today and giving us your blessing, man, and giving us a little bit of your time and your energy, man. And may you have a blessed day. You hear?
Yes, thank you.
Respect, man. See you soon. Yes, sir. That's what that's all about. We're going to stand on the square. We're going to stand on the balloon. What is it?
Take it away, feeling too good to me. Chilling all day, all in your space is where I wanna be. Here in this room, what did you do? I just can't get enough.